So the Elon Musk Donald Trump clown show continues, and frankly, it looks to be a sinking Titanic, and more people keep jumping off the ship. I got to go over this stuff with you guys. There's people quitting, people being exposed, and let's just jump right in. This was actually the headline today here. Steve Bannon ramps up his war on parasitic illegal immigrant Elon Musk. So that's one of Trump's people basically saying, yo, Musk is parasitic illegal immigrant. And we're not even sure on Musk's status over at the DOGE agency. I guess he's not head of it legally. This is really interesting. It says here, who runs Elon Musk DOGE? Not Musk. And that's news to me, right? Did you guys know that? Elon Musk is not the head of DOGE. Now, they've been kind of hinting that he is the head of DOGE publicly, but now legally he's not. Again, it says here, White House says Elon Musk is not in charge of DOGE legally. This was actually filed a couple days ago. State of Mexico plaintiffs. Elon Musk in his official capacity is the defendant. Like who is Elon Musk? What's his status in the government? And I've actually been seeing a lot of stuff on this when they first announced the Doge and the Musk thing. We all thought it was going to be some sort of advisory council thing. You remember back, that was when Vivek was part of it. Vivek steps down, and there were essentially rumors that maybe the two didn't get along. What were the different positions? There was also rumors that people didn't like Vivek. so there's that. But for all we know, right, because Vivek hasn't really made, definitive statements on the sense of like, hey, what do you really think? Because remember, Vivek went to law school. He's a lawyer essentially, and would know if things are illegal or not. I mean, he's a lawyer. And so he jumped off ship early on. Right now with Musk, this is what it says here, and it's actually interesting. It says, then on Monday evening, a White House official stated plainly that, quote, Mr. Musk is not the U.S. DOGE service administrator, okay? Which was actually a big surprise because you just assume that Musk is Doge. I mean, he puts it all day, every day on the Twitter. They talk about him with Doge, etc. So I guess he's not Doge. Then it says here, Mr. Fisher added that Mr. Musk was, quote, an employee in the White House office, not an employee of the Doge service, right? So they have to define, like, where is he? Now, I remember there was earlier reporting that they were saying Elon Musk's job was, like, quote, unlisted. Like, that was the name of his job, was unlisted. But now they're saying, okay, so he's not an employee of Doge. I guess he's an employee of the White House. Mr. Trump often talks about Mr. Musk as the functional leader of Doge. Featured him in news conferences last week where Mr. Musk answered questions about it. It's really shady, and this may end up being the thing that gets him. Because when you come into public service, you got to do background checks, these kind of things, and financial disclosures, disclose conflict of interest. There's all of these procedures, and we talked about this before on the channel. If you or I try to get a job in the federal government, right, it's a long process, and the way that they got Musk in, where his status was a bit unclear. What's your job title? Where do you work? We're all thinking you're working over the Doge thing. Now they're saying you work at the White House. So that's what I'm saying, guys. There's a lot of shady crap going on right now. On top of that, you got Steve Bannon calling out Elon Musk, which we talked about before. It says, and this is the quote here, quote, Musk is a parasitic illegal immigrant. Again, that's coming from Steve Bannon. He also says he wants to impose his freak experiments and act as God without any respect for the country's history, values, or traditions. And this gets at the heart, right? Bannon, and again, this is one of Trump's people. Bannon, though, is getting at the heart of like where Musk is, trying to mess with us, right? I'll read it again. This is Bannon on Musk. He wants to impose freak experiments and act as God without any respect for the country's history, values, or traditions. And actually, that actually captures Musk. Exactly. There was a bunch of protests on President's Day regarding Musk and Trump. This was actually my favorite protest sign. Someone's out here in DC. It says, federal employees don't work for kings. And that's sort of like, again, it goes back to what is Musk's status. I thought he was in charge of a Doge. That's what they keep saying. And I mean, if you look at, Musk's social media and all the public statements, that's what you would think. But now they're saying, no, he's part of the White House. And then like, and they start firing people like crazy, right? And then people are like, okay, so what legal authority do you have to do this to be able to fire people like this or cut, funding in this way? And that's why you have multiple states suing Musk. There's also been talk like you should make Musk personally liable for all the things that are happening. We talk about this. I mean, there's multiple things going on, and then you got someone. I mean, this is just breaking today. This is the senior DOJ prosecutor quit, right? Another person quits, and this was an interesting one because I think this kind of shows their strategy. So again, it says senior DOJ prosecutor quit after being told to investigate Biden climate spending. So this is how I read this one, and it's a bit complicated, but basically the Trump people are like, "Hey, we found $20 billion." I think that was the number, and then there essentially the DOJ prosecutor was like, "I don't think you have the evidence that you found this quote money," and I think this is for the EPA. And what it sounds like to me is that the Trump people are like trying to lay their hands and claims on money that's not theirs. I mean, that's how I read this, and I'm just like, if you guys understand what I'm saying, they're like kind of looking around and stuff like that. Oh, that money's like improper. Let's take that money. That's what it sounds. That's what they're trying to do. They're just trying to grab money that's not theirs, claiming that the money is not supposed to be in that account. It's supposed to be in their account. I'll read it here. It says the top criminal prosecutor in D.C. The U.S. Attorney's Office, Denise Chung, resigned Tuesday after declining a request from her Trump-appointed superiors to open a grand jury investigation that she viewed as premature, according to multiple people familiar with the matter. Right, there wasn't enough evidence; it's premature. And then she's been in this job since like the year 2000. So she's been doing this for like 25 years. And so I always make this clear. There's a lot of people out there that it's not, they work in the government, but it's not really like, hey, I'm left, I'm right. I work in the government. I serve the people. I serve the Constitution. That it's not necessarily a political actor. Not everyone in DC is all about politics. People are just there to do their job, uphold the Constitution, uphold the law. Denise being one of them. And, this is what it says is it says, she refused the order and resigned, in part because she believed there wasn't sufficient evidence to take step at the time, as well as seeking to protect lower level prosecutors from work, right? And this is actually, remember, in New York, 7 lawyers quit. They saw that what the Trump stuff, what they wanted to do with the Eric Adams dismissal of the charges was in their eyes, like that's improper. You could say illegal. And here, and this is kind of the key part where it looks like the Trump people are trying to basically take money that may not be theirs. The Trump administration has consistently criticized Biden's spending on environmental programs. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin said he had, quote, that's what I was telling you, found $20 billion worth funding from the former President Biden's 2022 climate law in a Citibank account and wanted to return the money to the U.S. Treasury. So they're trying to get this money. And then the DOJ person quits, right? They're like, I don't think you have the proper evidence, etc. And then this is the quote here. When I started as an AUSA, I took an oath of office to support and defend the Constitution. I've executed this duty faithfully during my tenure, which has spanned through numerous administrations, right? And then I guess she sent this email out to all of her colleagues. I know that all of the AUSAs in the office continue to honor their oaths on a daily basis, just as I know that you are always conducted yourself with the utmost integrity. So again, we don't know exactly what's going on, but it sounds like from my reading of it again, is that the Musk and the Trump people are trying to find money. And that's part of the DOGE thing. You're like looking where money's going. Oh, hey, we found this account. And then they're trying to take that money, right? That may not be necessarily theirs and doing it in proper ways. That's why people are resigning. The same way, this is actually another interesting one. I know there's a lot to go over. Judge calls prosecutors into court to explain reasons for abandoning Eric Adams' case, right? And so now even judges are calling in question why are you trying to dismiss this case, etc. I remember a lot of the top people over in this is the Southern District in New York wouldn't sign off on Trump's illegal order. And then on top of that, the people that they associate themselves with, I know there's a lot because it's all connected, is this Milei thing. There's another scandal with this. So first, Milei, I talked about with you guys yesterday. This is the Argentinian president dude. He was doing a crypto scam pump and dump the same way that Melania and Trump have a crypto scam pump and dump. He gave an interview and it was actually kind of funny. He was saying, oh, I wasn't doing a pump and dump. I just wanted to bring awareness to it. I wasn't promoting it. Like that's the argument that he's gonna make. And then during I guess during the interview, he was like talking about how he might use the government to protect himself or something like that. And then they had to and they didn't air this part. It was kind of interesting how it was cut out, but it appeared on social media that one of his advisors come and whisper in his ear or something. We don't know what he said, but probably to the effect of like, you can't say that, or we got to cut this part out, or something like that. And then the interviewer just sits there and watches and is like, okay, fine. And then they start up the interview again. Okay, what were you talking about? But the point being is that there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that are pretty shady. And I'm mentioning the Milei thing because he actually spoke at the inauguration and met with Vivek. And I know we talked about this before. Like all these people are connected. I think a lot of this stuff they may get them on technicalities. That's often how these sort of cases work, because there's so many, we'll say improper, illegal, unconstitutional. I'm trying to different ways to like you would charge these people. And oftentimes what happens is, there's so many crimes out there, and you got to go with the ones where you can get like the really clear evidence and ways to charge them. With the Trump situation, he's supposedly immune, has immunity for official presidential acts, but the people around him, right? So like, what about the whole Musk stuff? They may just get him on something like, hey, you didn't properly disclose your conflicts of interest, or they may get him on something like, hey, you gave orders when you didn't have the authority to. We'll see what it ends up being, because I honestly, I every day I wake up and I go through you guys with you stuff. There's so many things that they're doing that's improper, and the thing that or illegal, you could argue. The thing that's kind of really obvious about it is when they're doing it at odd times of of the week, like they're trying to do actions on the weekends, they're doing stuff at night, they're bringing in a bunch of inexperienced people, right? Young people that sort of Musk is working with. And then we can all see what's going on. It's like about a month now. There are multiple cases, there are multiple protests already. My personal opinion, like as regular people, and then I'm just showing you guys this one, a particularly heinous villain, right? Is that when Musk companies really take a hit in sales, which we're already seeing, where people are just like, I'm not touching a Tesla, I'm not touching the Nazi wagon, right? I'm not touching the swastika. Is this that'll really affect his wealth? And if they turns out that no one buys their cars, the Teslas in any country, I mean, what do you think is going to happen? The stock, it should absolutely collapse, which actually collapse Musk's wealth. That's what we're going to see. And then if Musk doesn't have any wealth, and they don't really like him personally, because you'll see Trump make kind of weird jokes about Musk, that kind of stuff. I doubt Trump likes Musk. He just likes the money, right? And that's sort of how these people are. It's all transactional, right? What can you do for me? What can you do for me? And if Musk doesn't have any money or any sort of wealth behind this stuff, and they don't like each other, right? Do you understand how they would split very quickly? So that's why you have to pay attention to all these things, not just the people that are resigning. And also want to make this clear. Sometimes people say, well, why don't the good people stay? Sometimes they'll say resign in public, right? But effectively they were pushed out, right? Do you know how like your boss will say, well, if you don't follow my illegal order, I expect your resignation on my desk, pronto, that kind of thing. So we don't know like the full story necessarily. And probably later, maybe a year from now, 2 years from now, everyone will come out and speak fully about all the internal conversations that were going on. But essentially, I've told you guys before with these kind of things, watch what people do. Watch what people do. And when you see lawyers quitting, people, the Justice Department, quitting, or you see, remember there was threats basically by Homan to possibly charge or, go after AOC. We talked about this in the prior video. There's not everyone's going to want to go along with this kind of stuff, right? And this is what we're seeing right now. We're seeing a fight. There are still good people out there. You're watching this channel as well. There's people protesting in the streets. There's people that don't go along with Trump's regime. And again, these are people who are not going along with it, are serving, both sides of the aisle. It's not like a political thing. Not everything is left, right. Some things it's just serve the Constitution, not serve the Constitution. And I feel like these, Trumps and Musk, they're trying to go around the Constitution, which is insane. And that's sort of why people are calling them out. So want to hear your thoughts on this stuff. Hope all these things make sense that are going on. And I'll catch you all in the next video.